So I just finished listening to Latino USA's La Reina del Rock, Alejandra Guzman episode. I was really excited to listen to it because I am a huge fan of 80s Spanish rock music, especially listening to Alejandra Guzman and Mana. So it was interesting to hear from her. Alejandra Guzman is the daughter of Enrique Guzman, who was another rock artist in Mexico. Never have heard his music, but I did know that. And actress Silvia Pinal, who used to be in the old Mexican movies. I liked that she talked about stereotypes of Mexicans only liking to listen to ranchera music all the time, which is so not true because we love to listen to, well, some Mexicans, myself included, love to listen to English and British rock music, and of course 80s Spanish music that has influence from that. Some of my favorite songs to dance to at quinceañeras and weddings are Mana's Me Vale and Oye Mi Amor, because I love to rock out to those two. And also, this is not a rock song, but Payaso del Rodeo, which is the Spanish version of Achy Breaky Heart. Totally not rancheras. So I'm glad she brought up that stereotype because it's so true. Listening to it, I admired her music before, but now I admire her as a person because I think she's a very strong woman who owns her sexuality in a culture that does not. Recently, so I feel like I'm forgetting my Spanish here. Sorry. I started watching Spanish soap operas, and they remade this one called Ruby, and she is definitely a woman that owns her sexuality, but they play her as a villain, and that's what they do in most Spanish soap operas. They will put the people that own their sexuality and that are promiscuous as the villains. So it got me thinking about how Mexican culture is one that does not allow women to be, to own their sexuality, and why that is. What else? I also like that she talks about, since she is a rockera, she likes the rock music because it allows her to put strength in fragility. Yeah. And I agree with that. I like that it's like you can access this part of yourself in the rock music. It allows you to like dance out emotions, but it also has a powerful message, like this song. Tú me hiciste sentir que no valía, y mis lágrimas cayeron a tus pies. Me miraba en el espejo y no me hallaba. Yo era solo lo que tú querías ver. Y me solté el cabello, me vestí de reina, me puse cartones, me pide que era bella, que hacia la puerta que escuché gritarme, pero tus cadenas ya no pueden pararme. En la noche ya no veo oscura en lentejuelas. Todos me miran, porque sé que soy buena. Yeah, that song is like one of my favorite. Todos me miran. It is a ballad rock song by Alejandra Guzman. That song got me through my tough teen years where I felt so misunderstood from my mother. In it, she says that she looked in the mirror and she couldn't find herself. That she would get dressed up and she would put on makeup, lots of makeup, and everyone would look at her as she would walk. Trying to break free of the chains. So powerful. It was my favorite to rock out to that song. I think it also goes back to Mexican moms and daughters, because I know for me, there was seeing with my cousins, not so much for me, but my cousins, there was an expectation of like, you stay in the house until you're married. People don't really fly away from the family. So it kind of leads me back to how can you, in a culture that values family and familismo and marianismo, which is daughters and women sacrificing everything for the family. And then another song that she wrote, people like, no, is Hacer el amor con otro, which is to have sex with another person that is not her partner or spouse, which is like a big no-no in the culture. And that was very controversial, but it was also one of her most selling songs. It really broke that stereotype about women and sexuality. And I wonder how we can continue to break these social roles and the cultures that are deeply rooted in Catholicism. Also, she talked a lot about aging and embracing aging when there's pressure to look a certain way, especially when you are in the limelight. It got me thinking about how we can change that, and is it like in our perception and in societies, and especially when girls are taught from a young age to stop the effects of aging. Like, we have face creams and Botox when you're older. And I thought a lot about how do we begin to embrace growing older. And I was struck by something that she said, the importance of learning patience and about the power of recovering and having to fight and listen to your body, because I think we don't do that, especially the listening to your body, and we don't have the patience to just let ourselves grow older, and we won't just sit with it because we're afraid of how differently we'll be viewed. And like she said, like, she had to find a way to have her sexuality be seen differently as she got older. Like, she couldn't be dancing on stage how she used to before, so it had to change. And I thought it was very interesting because we don't think about that, like sexuality and age, and as an older person we don't think of it, or at least I don't. And what it looks like. And she wrote another song recently called Soy Así, which talks about self-love and empowerment, which I cannot wait to listen to. I've definitely added that to my list now. But it's about knowing who you are and the self-love and empowerment, which are things that I've totally been thinking about lately. Because I think I'm still on my journey. If I've even started, actually, now that I think about it. And that's something I need to think about, like, what does that look like for me? And then I wonder, why is it so hard for women to practice self-love and empowerment? Is it that we need more role models to model it for us? And where are these role models? Do we have any, if any? I also love this quote that says, she says, when asked which she would give advice to other rockeras, but I think it could be used for anyone. Go for it. Think about what you want to say to the world and believe in you. Sometimes you have to knock on doors and they are going to shut it, but there are a lot of doors, and just try and try. Got me thinking about Reshma Sanjani's book, Brave Not Perfect, which talks a lot about women and perfectionism and how girls are taught to be perfect at a young age and to not fail. And so there's this fear of failing, and they don't even have the courage to try if it's going to be anything less than perfect, and how to break those cycles and how to get comfortable with that fear of failure, because it's going to happen. So it just made me think a lot about feminism and women and how we're viewed in society and how we continue to change those, especially when there's different messages that you're receiving. Coming from, at least for me, I think about it, coming from a Chicana, Mexican American early household, and how that looks different for other people that are bicultural. Yeah, that's really been what I've been sitting with.